going to go ahead and warn everybody right now. If you don't like when our reviews are very rambly and they don't really seem to have any cohesion or plan to what we're talking about and they're all over the place, you might want to just skip this one. Come back tomorrow. I'll be way more focused on that one.
Yeah, it's like we're both tired, and the movie we're discussing has a lot going on.
I got 4 hours of sleep last night, and even if I was well rested, I would still go into this movie like, this happens, but not that thing happened. But I think that happened.
This thing has so many twists that I think I pulled a muscle.
It is. Ooh. This one, hey everybody, welcome to Thorgiween. I'm Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is Thorgiween, as I said, in which we are reviewing a horror film every single day this month. And we are right smack dab in the middle of International Horror Week, where this entire week, every day, we are discussing a horror film from a different country. And today we're going to South Korea, in which we were talking about The Wailing. Now, this is a film that has been on my bucket list for the longest time, because people have told me this thing is genius. People have told me that this thing is just a masterpiece. I think it's got like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was making best of the year list all over the place, but I have never watched it. And can you guess why I have never watched it?
It's 2.5 hours long.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes, every time I was like, I'm going to sit down and watch that thing. Oh my God, it's how long? I got stuff to do. I will make sure to clear a spot in my schedule for you. And then this year is like, it's Thorgiween and we're doing international horror movies. I'm definitely going to sit down and watch this. And man, this movie is not 2.5 hours long. This movie is 5 hours long because you got to watch it twice to try and figure out what the hell is going on. This is a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I just noticed the camera is zoomed in a little bit extra, but we're not changing it now.
No, whatever.
For that one person out there who's like, are they closer to the camera than normal? Yes, I apologize. So, this film, it stars a police officer named Jung-gu, and he is...
Not the
bumbling
best.
is the best word to put it.
Not the best police officer.
If this film had an American adaptation, he'd be played by Kevin James. This film, I have seen people call this a horror comedy, and I always looked at the poster and the trailers and everything else that people were saying. I was like, how the hell is this a comedy? I'm not seeing any comedy in here. You watch this, it's a comedy because he is just some middle-aged doofus. Mm-hmm. He is just some guy who's just miserable. He just hates where he is in life, but he's not like, oh, I had all this potential and it's wasted on this. No. He just is a very bumbling buffoon of a person. But he gets wrapped up in a very dark storyline. So you'll have this kind of jokey character, but then in really traumatic, horrible situations. It's very interesting. Like, for the people out there who are like, oh, this is a horror comedy. You watch the first hour of this and it's like, okay, yeah, I can see how this is a horror comedy. Then when you get into that second hour and a half, it's like, no, this is just sad. This is just a sad film is what this is. Yeah, because like there's a moment early on in which he goes up to a woman's house who has been burned down and she's there screaming. And then she runs up to him and starts attacking him. And he's on the ground, like just so helpless and pathetic sounding. As like, that's kind of the humor that comes from this character. Like, there are a few other semi-humorous moments in here that don't come from him, though. Like, probably the biggest laugh I got out of this entire film was they are going to the site of where there's been a rash of murders across the town. And they go to this spot where a woman hung herself. And it's just him and his buddy police officer just sitting there just being bored out of their minds. And some lady just starts throwing rocks at them from way down at the end of the block. And the other officer's like, she's been doing that all day, just ignore her. And she just keeps throwing rocks and she's like hiding behind something, like trying to get their attention. They just ignore her. And then like another scene goes by, then it cuts back to them and it's just Jung-gu there now. And he is just sitting there and you hear the rocks still falling. And then the camera like cuts to show you he's now surrounded by rocks.
Yeah.
And she's sitting now just like 2 feet from him. And even she looks bored like, like she's just like, God, just pay attention to me, you asshole. Yeah, that was like probably the biggest laugh I got out of this entire thing. Which is good because there's no other laughs in this. This is a dark film. I'm getting the laughs out now while I can.
Yeah, like most of the laughs are like basically just from the main character being an idiot.
Yeah, pretty much.
But like the thing is, he is basically the only one being an idiot. So
there's another.
I guess like he does have another friend in like where they work, where they're both kind of like.
There's that moment, early
around.
on in which, not even goofing around. The other guy's like trying to tell him like scary stories, but not like ghost stories, but like, no, this is real. I was heard about this thing. And you can tell like he's an idiot too. There's a moment in which he tries to round up a group of people for some mob justice. They get a posse together and jump in the back of a pickup truck and go driving off to try and get revenge on some guy who they don't even know if this person has done anything yet. They're just jumping to conclusions on this. So they run off to do this thing, and then the moment they get there, they see something scary, and suddenly these 5 tough guys holding weapons all just turn into little children. It's like, okay, so this film is a dark, very depressing film starring a bunch of idiots.
Yes.
But here's the other thing. This film is also confusing as hell. This is the only film that, well, I'm not going to say the only film, but one of the few films I can remember where as soon as I finished watching it, I had to go online and I actually looked up one of those ending explained videos, which, by the way, I've never actually watched one of those ones. There's a bunch of people out there who do the ending explained videos, but there's one guy, he has a very particular font that just says ending explained, and the guy's got like 2 million views. I've never watched any of his videos until now, and I was like, well, this guy's popular, he's gotta have like good in-depth analysis. I watch it, all the dude does is just summarize the movie. We can do that. We do that. But I was like, oh, he doesn't actually explain the ending.
Like he does, like he explains.
It's clickbait.
So he explains what goes on, but he doesn't explain why it's going on.
I thought it would be like analysis kind of stuff. It is like, well, this scene happens, and then this scene happens, and this scene happens. And it's like, dude, if I'm looking up ending explained, assume I watched the movie already. It's like, okay, I see what you actually do on this channel. All right, yeah.
Basically, he's a spoiler.
That's, Anyway, not trying to start shit with anybody way more popular than us. What was I going to say? Oh man, maybe there's an art to those ending explained videos because I don't know where I'm going with this story right now.
Well, we did mention this is going to be very rambly because a lot of things go on.
The ending of this is one where it's a lot of back and forth of like, well, they said this, but they said this, but they said that, but they said this. And it's like, wait, well, who do I trust? What's going on with this thing? But also, there's just flat out information that isn't clear in here.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had to look up I read an article, and it was a very big, in-depth article, like, analyzing everything in the movie. And even it said, like, well, this is the one thing that we don't know either. And I was like, well, fuck, well, all right, fine. But it did help me with some stuff. It made me understand a couple of things in here that I didn't get. Let's get into the actual plot of this. It starts with this police officer, Jung-Hoo, who, as we said, middle-aged guy, just very down on his luck, just kind of bumbling, incompetent. But there started to be a series of murders across his tiny village. And not only are there murders, a lot of the people who are found at the murder sites, they're dirty and covered in like pox of some kind. Like
blisters.
Like blisters, like some kind of growth on them. And the mystery starts to build as more people get attacked, buildings start to burn down. And a lot of people in town are saying, all this started when that mysterious Japanese guy moved to town, and not even town. He lives on the other side of the mountain. He is off by himself. He's bothering nobody. And this is the thing that's going to happen when we do an international horror movie month. It's one of the great things about doing international horror is that it gives you a look into other cultures. But there's also some things in which I'm like, okay, is that part of this culture or is it just this thing?
Yeah.
Because everybody in this town is super prejudiced to this Japanese guy on sight. And I cannot speak to this because I am not from Korea, obviously. But I have heard many people say that there's a lot of tension between Korea and Japan. A lot of the people in Korea don't like the people in Japan. A lot of people in Japan don't like people in Korea. That's just what I've heard. My apologies if that's not even close to reality. But watching this film, it was like, oh, wow, that might be true. Because that's definitely how this film is treating it. Because this is another problem that's going to come from doing international horrors, is that we have to rely on the subtitles for this. And I do always have to wonder if the subtitles on films like these are completely accurate, because anytime they refer to the Japanese guy, the subtitles used a very derogative term for Japanese people.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at that like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
It's kind of uncomfortable. And I kept looking at that going, I did have that thought in the back of my mind of, is that just the subtitle guy? Like, what's the actual term that they're using, and does it translate to what that means in English that the subtitle guy is using?
Yeah. Also, I've noticed, like, every now and then there's, like, a spelling error in the subtitles, so...
I've been noticing that with a lot of the films we've been watching. The movie that we watched tomorrow was like, oh, there's moments where you guys didn't do a second take on this. You just, like, we gotta hit this deadline and get these subtitles out. So, yeah, everybody is, like, super suspicious of this mysterious Japanese guy, and there's a lot of people like sharing stories about like, oh, he sexually assaulted this woman, and that woman was the victim at this murder case. Well, do you have proof of that? No, but I heard that it happened, so I'm gonna spread that around some more. And there's another guy who's telling a story about he just saw the Japanese guy out in the woods, like wearing a fundoshi, just down on all fours, eating a deer face first, and then like he got attacked by him with red glowing eyes. And like even Jung-gu at that point is just like, okay, if that happened, how do you hear the story? Like, yeah, like this thing is making a lot of points about. This is something that got really weird to me in this film, is that there came a point in which I was like, okay, are you guys trying to make a point about prejudices, about jumping to conclusions, about like making assumptions about people from other countries and being suspicious of people from other countries? Is that the point that you're trying to make here? Or do you believe all the things that you're saying about this guy? Because there comes that point which is like, okay, obviously Jung-gu is meant to be an idiot in here. So you're meant to look at this like, okay, he's going to learn a lesson about judging this Japanese guy. But then there comes moments in here in which you're looking at what the Japanese guy is doing, is like, I think you're on are the filmmakers on the side of Jung-gu on this one? I don't know what message you're trying to make with this. And that
like, to me, it's not really prejudice, but like conflicting beliefs almost. Like, because it's like,
it's fear of the other.
Yeah.
It's fear of people that are not you. And it feels like that is a large fear in here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's moments in which it feels like the film is trying to say, no, that's wrong, don't do that. But then there's other moments in which it almost feels like the film is supporting that. It's weird.
It's like,
by the end, I don't think that's what it was doing. By the end, I definitely do not think that was the message of the film. I want to make that clear right now. I do not think that was the message of this film. But there are moments in here in which you're like, I think the film is trying to say that. And then something else will happen. It's like, oh, okay, no, that's not what it is. But wait, now this other moment's happening. I think it is going back to that. Nope, now it's leaning away from that again. It is a film that really goes back and forth on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's a ghost. No, he's not, but maybe he is.
But maybe he's a good ghost.
Or maybe there's a bad ghost. And
yeah, exactly. Like, that's what this film is. I warned y'all at the beginning, we were going to be all over the place on this review. This movie wants you to constantly be thinking from one scene to another, who am I rooting for in this? I'm sorry. But as the story goes along, everybody's getting suspicious of this Japanese guy. And then Jung-gu's daughter gets sick. And man, let me just say, that kid actor, great.
Mm-hmm.
His daughter's actress was phenomenal in here. And also, even though Jung-gu feels like a piece of crap at times, you see moments of him bonding with his daughter.
Yes.
It's like, man, you feel sweet. You feel that
he is a fuck up, but one thing he does right is care for his daughter.
Yeah, you get the sense that this guy does not like his life except for his daughter. He does like his daughter. But one night she gets sick and she's got a huge fever. And he's like, we got to get her to the hospital. Next morning, she's totally fine. And she's eating breakfast and eating a lot of breakfast. And it's all fish.
Yeah.
And the stepmom pulls him aside and not stepmom, but mother-in-law pulls him aside and goes, she never eats fish. Something is up right now. I'm calling a shaman. And from there, it's clear this is some kind of a possession thing. Like, he even starts to find, like, the boils growing on her that were growing on the murderers at all the other locations.
Yeah. And
he's starting to think, okay, something's up. He goes then to investigate the mysterious Japanese man out there, who, by the way, we never get a name for, by the way. So he goes to investigate that, and then he finds one of his daughter's shoes in his possession, along with photos of a bunch of the other victims of these locations. He's got, like, personal items from a bunch of the people at these locations, and now his daughter's shoe is there.
Yeah, and another thing, like, he brings along, like, his friend's nephew, who is, like a priest in training, and he knows...
He's like a deacon, right?
Deacon, yes, that's the word, deacon. And he knows, like, a little bit of Japanese, so, like, basically he's there for, like, both religious protection and as a translator.
Well, yeah, you get the feeling from that scene. His friend's nephew is a deacon and he speaks a little Japanese. So you get the sense that Jung-goo asks his friend, hey, I know your nephew speaks some Japanese, bring him along. Or maybe just, do you know anybody who speaks Japanese? And they decide to bring him along. But then when he gets there, his friend now is wearing a cross, which you get the sense from the way that Jung-goo looks at it, that he's never seen that on his friend before. So you totally get the sense that his friend is buying into all the superstitions about the Japanese guy. That's like, oh, he's definitely the devil or something. So that's like, he's definitely an evil spirit. I'm not calling up my nephew because he speaks Japanese. I'm calling him up because he's a deacon and I need the religious protection if I'm going to go up with you to investigate all this. But yeah, they go up there and Jung-goo is just going off on this guy like, you got to get out of here. And then he just starts like laying into all these insults. And the poor deacon is just like, he says that you should leave. Like,
yeah, like
he is not properly translating everything that he says.
Like it's like middle school level Japanese.
You can tell he kind of knows a little bit, but even if he knew it fully,
there was like no way he was able to like translate everything.
Well, not even able to. He wouldn't want to.
Yes.
Like, he's a deacon. You can tell that he doesn't want to cause any trouble with anything. He wants to just have a civilized conversation with this man. And Jung-goo is going off and like, listen here, pig fucker, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I can't blame him after like you see like his living conditions, like
yeah, he's just living in some shack out there in the middle of nowhere. And I apologize. Let me mute my phone.
Yeah, and like you said, like there's photos of like all the murdered people. And like,
it's that thing that this movie does where it makes you constantly go, okay, what's up here?
Yes.
Because everybody's saying that this man is suspicious in some way and that there's something wrong with him. And you as the audience are like, no, you can't just judge a book by its cover. And then you go out there and you're like, wow, that's a lot of covers that you got in here. This is the photos of the people who have died and possessions of theirs. And also the shoe of his daughter who just got sick. This is not looking good for you. Care to explain yourself? No. You're not gonna try and like defend what we just found in here or anything? Okay. I don't want to believe that you're actually an evil spirit like everyone says, partly because it feels like this movie's trying to make like a statement about judging people and stuff, but also because we're an hour into this 2.5 hour long film. No way are we about to reveal who the villain is now. So, but you gotta give me something to work with, man. Why do you have all this? Oh, you're not going to say anything. Great. Yeah, so that's what this film is. It's constantly making you go, are you evil? Are you the devil? What's going on here? Because then they hired the shaman. And the shaman comes, investigates the daughter, and is like, oh, there's something definitely very evil going on here. And yet there's something so smarmy and sleazy about this guy. Just, he shows up in a blazer and a turtleneck and a ponytail. And you're just like, all right, dude. Again, I know I just said don't judge a book by its cover, but you are dressed to sleaze. You are dressed like an 80s coke fiend right now. And you're supposed to be the shaman. And then there's moments in which he starts doing this cleansing ritual on the daughter. And the daughter's in pain. She's contorting all over the place. But you look at the shaman. And again, it's one of those ones where it's like, okay, I am not from this culture. I am not familiar with what he is doing in here exactly. But there's moments in which like he's shaking something around and then he turns around to hand off somebody and he just like lazily tosses it like, and I'm like, it feels, again, I don't know if that's like just normal, like the way that somebody would like toss that, but it kind of feels like he's just like, eh. But then there comes a moment in which like he has to throw blades into a fire and he whiffs both of them, just misses completely. And like, okay, I think we're definitely I don't think that's correct now. I think you're definitely trying to show this guy sucks at his job.
But like at the same time, you kind of do believe him.
Because she's contorting all over the place.
Yes.
Something's happening.
And like even before that, he like predicted like the dead crow and
that
the soy
was great.
sauce. Like, wow.
That was that moment in which even me, a non-believer who knows nothing about this particular culture and these procedures, would be like, oh, damn. All right. How'd you do that? Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah. So, this guy, but then to like further drive home kind of the sleaziness of this guy is he starts talking to Jung-goo about like, oh yeah, that Japanese man, he's a ghost. That man is a ghost. He's a demon. There's something wrong with that guy. And I have to pull out all the stops to save your daughter. $10,000, please. And yeah, it's like, okay, I don't fucking know whether or not to trust you because you definitely seem sleazy. And like, as he's having this conversation with him, he's back at his place and he's changing out his clothes. And he gets into like a Nike's tracksuit. And like, God, the most again, they're clearly going for sleaze with his wardrobe. Like, they are not trying to go for like respectable attire for this guy. And I was like, I don't know whether I should believe you, man. It's actually masterful.
I think that is the entire...
Oh, 100%.
Like,
that's
the whole
the point
of this movie is like, it's hard to believe anything, but at the same time, it's like...
Like I said, I was looking up articles on this thing, not to like find like, oh, what is the film about metaphorically? I mean, like, no, what happens in these moments? Because I don't know what I just watched. And one of the articles I was looking up was like, well, what is the message of this? And one of them is about who do you believe? And it's like, yeah, that's what this is. This entire film is supposed to make you go, who done what? I don't know. But you look at but I know it would be so easy in another film to just say like, okay, well, you gotta like step back and like analyze all this stuff and really like think it all out. Jung-goo's daughter is possessed by something and she is in constant pain.
Yeah, that is an actual fact.
There is a ticking time bomb on his daughter.
Yeah, it's like you can deny or question everything else, but like the fact that his daughter needs help, that is like, you can't deny that.
Yeah, it's... and that's the thing. The moment you throw that in there, it becomes way harder to go like, well, you need to be more suspicious of this gentleman right here. Like, no, yeah. If we don't have a daughter, but we have a dog, and if our dog was sick and shaking and had a fever or something, and then like a vet told me like, oh, you need this experimental procedure that's only done in this state, and it's going to cost $10,000. I would not stop and go like, well, hold on, let me actually research all this. Hold on, I'd be like, save my fucking dog. Yeah. So you get it. You get why this guy is jumping to so many conclusions and being such an asshole to the Japanese guy and being willing to buy whatever this guy says without questioning anything. But then there'll be moments in there in which they'll be doing things and you're like, okay, I was on the Japanese guy's side and against the shaman, but now I'm on the shaman side and I'm against the Japanese guy in here. What's going on with this? And from that point on, it gets into, like, this is when we get into spoiler stuff, so we're not going to talk about that yet until we get into our grade. But from there, it just keeps ramping that stuff up. And it gets to a point where, like, at the end of this film, there's, like, 3 different forces at work.
Yeah.
And you don't know who is telling what. Like, every single one of these 3 forces are telling you, don't trust the other 2 forces. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to a question of faith, but nobody has given you any reason to trust them over the other 2 forces.
That's like literally how you can describe religion in general. Like, you don't, like, it's hard to believe in religions, and it seems like all the other religions are against one another, or like opposing one another.
It definitely feels like that is a message of this film. By the end of it, there's a definite answer.
Yes.
However, I do have to think about like all the positive stuff that people have said about this film, and I think about like if I have to point to like one thing that says like, yes, this is a great film, it is that final moment in which it comes down to what do you do and who do you trust? Because I didn't know, and I was watching from the third person point of view. I was seeing scenes that Jung-Goo wasn't. And even I was like, dude, I don't know. I've got no clue. I have more information than Jung-Goo does, and I'm probably even more confused than he is. Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm not going to say like he's a good person, but you feel so bad for him. And yeah, I think it is brilliant what it does there at the end. That being said, there's moments in here in which I'm like, okay, I know you're trying to be vague. I have zero idea what happened here, even after watching this twice. And I looked up articles trying to explain parts of this, and even they were like, dude, we all know.
Yeah, I feel like this movie wants you to come to your own conclusions, but like they don't like give enough information for us to do so.
Yeah.
Unless like you said, it might be like a cultural thing that we don't understand.
Well, there's some of that. And I did look up some stuff on this, and I'll talk about that when we get to the spoiler stuff. Because there's like one moment in here in which I was like, oh wow, so if you're just all up on like Korean religions and traditions, they kind of just revealed to you what's going to happen. They revealed to you everything that's going on here. It's weird, but I kind of started thinking of this as like John Carpenter's The Thing, because for two reasons. One is because one of my favorite fun facts about John Carpenter's The Thing is that there at the beginning of that film where the Swedish guy is just screaming at all the Americans and none of them speak his language. If you are in the audience and you're watching that, that's actually accurate Swedish that he's saying. So if you understand Swedish, he tells you the entire plot of the film in the first 5 minutes. I've always loved that about that. And there's a moment in here in which I didn't know what was going on. It was another, like, I don't know who to trust on here. But I looked up, like, an article about, like, religious symbolism in this film and traditions and stuff. And there is a moment in which something happens. And if you know what that thing is, it tells you what to know in this. It tells you what's happening in the film. And I'm fine with that. I don't need to know that part because clearly that was supposed to be, like, a little like secret, like only for a very small audience out there. So that's fine. But then we come around to another thing, which is that I think about how at the end of John Carpenter's The Thing, you're not, spoiler for John Carpenter's The Thing, by the way, you're not supposed to know what really happens at the end of that. You're not really supposed to know, like, okay, is this, or is that, or is it nothing? At the end of this one, you have a definitive answer. At the end of this, there is an actual full-on answer. But there are scenes before that that were meant to make you wonder what was going on that still at the end of this film are not explained. Whereas I think about like John Carpenter's The Thing, you're not supposed to know what happens there at the end. So when you look at stuff previously in the film and you're like, okay, what was happening here? You're not supposed to know that because it adds into the mystery and the suspense and the paranoia of that film. Here, because you have a definitive answer at the end of this, it does make me look at those scenes that never got explained and be like, hold up, then what the hell happened in that moment? And yeah, it is a little confusing. Like that's kind of one of the problems I have with here is that I think it does a brilliant job of not making you know who to trust. But there at the end, when we do have an answer, I now look at certain scenes like, okay, I now need to know what the hell happened in there, and there's no answers. So yeah, my brain is fried. Anything else that you want to add before we get into our score?
Like, you said, like, the ending is definitive, and yeah, but, like, in a way, I feel like the movie wants you to figure out how it got to that ending, or, like, why, and it's, like...
It does want you to figure out how it got to that point. But again, there's some things in there which I'm like, I do not believe you gave us enough information to figure some of this stuff out. But yeah.
Yes, like, I will tell you what I think was they're supposed to happen, but, like, we'll get to that in the spoiler talk.
I'll also be interested in knowing what exactly you're talking about in here, because I'm thinking of one specific thing in here. And I'm wondering what you're thinking of, because it might be two totally different scenes.
Yeah, maybe.
So what score would you give this?
Maybe like a B- because it is a bit confusing and it is long. And
Well, you know what? I'm going to say this. I will say this. It's 2.5 hours long. However, it does feel like 2.5 hours long. I'm not going to say like, oh man, I can't believe how quickly this thing went by. No, it feels like 2.5 hours long. However, it doesn't drag.
no.
This thing is always moving. Things are definitely always
In
happening.
fact, I feel like there's stuff in here that should be added to explain certain things.
The way that I
but-
felt about this film is that this film does follow the 3-act structure, but it feels like every single one of those 3 acts have their own 3 acts inside of them. Like,
Yeah.
this thing is a journey.
Mhm.
This thing makes you go on a long trip. Yeah. So it's 2.5 hours long, but you know something? I will say it feels like it earned that time. I'll say that. It did not feel like it was just like digging around the entire time. Like, oh God, come on, guys, move this along. It's like, no, this is a fascinating scene. This is a fascinating scene. This scene is important. This scene is important. Yeah, it made use of that 2.5 hours, but god damn, man, it maybe could have been 2 hours and 45 minutes. Yeah. So you give it B-. I'm actually going to give it a B+, but it's a very like, okay, B+, like a very reluctant B+, I guess.
Maybe just
Because I can't deny it's good. Like,
Mhm.
the good stuff in here is A+. I think the good stuff in here is great. But man, there's moments where I don't know if the way the story is told is handled just right.
yeah, and like you're more familiar with like horror movies than I am, so like maybe that's why you can appreciate this movie
Maybe.
more. Like,
It's hey, listen, all films are gonna hit people in different ways. That's why we have 2 people on this review show. Yeah, this film, I say this with every horror film we watch, it's not gonna be for everybody. But this one's not gonna be for everybody because it's confusing and long, and you gotta just be willing to deal with that.
mhm.
And I was willing to deal with that, but even I'm like, this is a little bit too confusing. But yeah, I'd go B+, because I do think the good stuff in here is like really freaking good. But let's get into the spoiler stuff in here.
Mhm.
So here's the part where it got really confusing to me, is that there comes the moment in which, by the way, we'll just go ahead and reveal it right now because you need to know this for what I'm about to say. Also need to check the time because I have an appointment coming up in a little bit. Okay, we're good. This is the part that y'all need to know. At the end of this, that woman who was throwing rocks, turns out she is also like a helpful spirit that is trying to protect everyone in the town. And I will say, this is a negative that I should have brought up before we got to the spoiler part. She is very important to the end of the story. I do not think she is used nearly enough before that point.
Mhm.
Like,
I think that was supposed to be the point.
maybe? I feel like she needed another scene in there because, like, we see her throwing the rocks. Then there comes the moment in which she just appears at the Japanese guy's house. And, like, we needed a scene before this because I forgot who you are. This thing
Yeah,
is
but,
2.5 hours long.
But like after the rock throwing scene, she basically explains like what went on in the house.
Yes.
So like,
but then she disappears, but then it's kind of implied that was a dream. That's another thing. There's moments in here which you're like, is that a dream? Is that
yeah,
not a
because like
dream? I
there'd be
don't
like
know.
moments where like some crazy shit happens and he wakes up wailing. I don't.
You will know why it's called The Wailing, yes.
Yes, there's a lot of wailing going on in this movie.
Yes. Yeah, so there's moments in which it's like, is this a dream? I don't know. That's which again goes into the whole like, I don't know what to believe in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I do believe is the point of this. The entire point of this film is knowing what to have faith in and how that is hard because you don't know what to believe. So yeah, that was definitely what they were going for, and they nailed that. I gotta give them credit on that. However, I definitely believe that the woman in white, I believe she's called, she needed to be in at least one other scene. She is not in here quite enough for the importance that she has at the end of this movie. However, it's revealed that she is a good spirit trying to protect this city. The Japanese guy actually really is the devil. Everyone was right about that. That was correct. At the end of this, he is the devil indeed. There's no question on that. But it turns out he and the shaman are in cahoots. The devil is going around possessing people. The shaman gets in there, makes some money.
That would explain like fancy stuff he
Yes.
has, like all those clothes.
Yep, the nice car, the fancy clothes. Yeah, exactly. And he's charging like $10,000 because, yeah, if your daughter is possessed by the devil, you will of course find $10,000. You'll sell what you have to try and protect her. And so yeah, they're definitely in cahoots. Devil gets to possess people. Shaman gets to make some cash off it. There is a moment. All the people that get possessed, it looks like they have like some kind of a pox on them, like boils that are growing off of them. There is a moment, and this was the thing that I looked up that made me go, oh shit. So if you know that, they just told you the plot of the film. He is performing the big $10,000 ceremony. The one that like, the daughter is in massive pain, and Jung-Gu eventually goes like, stop all this, stop it, you're killing my daughter. Which again is one of the things that makes you go like, okay, who am I supposed to trust on this? There comes a moment in which he is cutting down a big wooden figure.
Yeah.
Apparently, back when smallpox were a big problem, in Korea, villages would put up big wooden figures like that to protect them from the gods and demons they believe brought smallpox.
Basically big wooden totems.
Yeah, basically. And they would erect these giant big wooden totems because they believed that they warded off the demons that brought smallpox. And now you have him cutting that down and burning it. That's okay. If you know all of that, it's at that moment you're supposed to be like, hold up.
Yeah, but if you did not know about that...
Which I have to imagine that even in South Korea, that's gotta be like an obscure enough thing that the audience wouldn't be like, oh, because then you just give away the film right there.
Yeah, so, because like, if you didn't know about that, you would assume that, like, basically this carving is the devil and he's stabbing it to get rid of the devil.
Because it keeps cutting back to the old man, who at this point, we don't know he's the devil.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a moment right before this in which we see him going and buying a chicken and then just riding back to his place on the bus with it. And you're like, an evil guy is not going to be buying a chicken and haggling for the price and then riding the bus. That's not how it's going to work. But he buys these chickens, takes them back, and he starts doing his own ritual. But we don't know what that ritual is.
Yeah, and like the Japanese man is doing his ritual at the same time that the shaman is doing his ritual. So you're thinking...
And then the moment that he starts like hammering the nails into the wooden tome, you see the Japanese guy start having like a heart attack and start like convulsing on the floor. And it's like, okay, that's definitely real. Okay, something's definitely happening.
Yeah, like you feel like that they are like one is affecting the other, but you don't know which is the good one and which is the bad one because like once again you don't know whose side you should be on. So you're thinking, oh, is the Japanese man doing this ritual to ward off the devil?
Yes, is the shaman the bad guy and the Japanese guy is trying to protect the little girl? Because that's what I assume. Like, maybe the little girl came to him because, like, she could already feel, like, something evil happening. And she like, met this guy who was like, okay, I'm going to try and help you out. Or, so, like, is the shaman actually the bad guy and the Japanese guy is trying to protect her? Or is he actually evil and the shaman is trying to, like, stop him? Because then it comes back to the shaman and, like, the little girl is in so much pain that Jung-Gu has to stop the whole ceremony. And you're like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, and it's like, is she in pain or is the demon possessing her in pain?
Yes. And what we're supposed to know at the end of all this is that now that we know that both of them are in cahoots with each other and the woman in white was the helpful spirit, and at the end of this, she tries to set up a thing to keep the demon out from possessing the daughter. Apparently, what we're supposed to learn from all this is that actually the shaman was breaking down the protective barrier that the woman in white was putting up for the demon. So when the daughter was screaming out, stop it, that wasn't the demon inside, that was the daughter like, no, I can feel the demons coming for me now. But then it raises the question, what the hell was going on with the Japanese guy and why was he like freaking out during all this? And the simple answer is they're completely unrelated. He was doing his own ritual that caused him to start having these little like twitches on the ground.
Yeah, like maybe he was having a heart attack or something like that.
Well,
or like...
remember right before this, he found the body of another guy in a car out in the woods by his shack. And that's when he starts doing the ritual. Then the next morning, he goes and checks on the car and the body is gone and now it's a zombie walking around. That's the ritual that he was doing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that to me is like, I don't know what this scene is. What the hell happened here? And I looked up explanations, and the best explanation that someone came up for with this was that before this, the Japanese guy was always stone-faced. We never saw any, nothing from him. He was always just completely stone-faced. He does this ritual. Next morning, we're seeing emotions on his face as he's checking on the body, and the body is now a zombie walking around. And now when, we see Jung-Hoo's gang running after the Japanese guy, he's now freaking out and we see him panicking. The explanation I saw someone online have is that was a ritual that the devil did to swap souls with the guy in the car. So now the zombie body was the devil possessing that body. And now the guy in the car's name was Park. So that guy, it was more than Park, but that's the only part of the name I remember. I apologize.
Yeah.
But now he's trapped in the body of this old Japanese guy. And he's got this angry gang of people coming after him, so he's freaking out. And okay, I can buy that.
Honestly, I originally thought that the devil was, trying to, summon a zombie to protect him.
That's kind of the feeling that I got. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kept mentioning there's one specific thing in here that I'm like, all right, you need to explain that. That's too confusing. This is the scene. When all this is over with, and we now know who was right, who was wrong, who was on whose side, who was doing what behind the scenes, this is still the thing that I'm like, I have zero idea why this happened. But it feels important because it feels like this was all leading up to the plan that they had. Because it is leading up to the plan. Because after this, they're driving off because they couldn't find the Japanese guy who is now possessed by, I guess is possessed by the spirit of the other guy. And he then comes tumbling down off the mountain and hits their car and they kill him. And then we cut to the shaman going, the rat has fallen into the trap. And what that's supposed to mean is that at the end of this, we learn the reason why the demon can now fully possess his daughter. The demon was only trying to possess his daughter. The reason why it can now fully do it is because her father has committed a mortal sin. He killed another innocent man. And now that's happened, the house is tainted and the demon can fully possess the daughter. Which that was another thing that was confusing to me, is that she tells him the demon is possessing the daughter because her father committed a sin of killing an innocent man. And he even flat out says, the demon was possessing her before I did that. So that doesn't make any sense. Even he's calling out, that makes no sense. And there actually came a freaking moment in here, which I thought, is this going to be time travel? I actually had that thought because I was looking at the woman in white. And I was like, is that the spirit, the ghost of his daughter from the future? Because I've seen other stories where the ghost was the ghost of someone that hasn't died yet. And I actually thought, is that what you're doing here? That's not what they're doing here.
Because I didn't really have any idea what was going on.
You didn't look any of this up, yeah.
No. I thought he did kill someone, but he didn't realize it, or
he killed someone before all this?
Yeah, I thought he killed the guy in the van.
Oh, the park guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought he did that, basically he wanted, I think he, I mentioned this before, but I think he was, cheating on his wife, and
okay.
I think his wife was the one woman he was cheating with, and, he didn't want, Parks to get suspicious, so, maybe he, wanted to,
oh, shit, she was wearing the same thing! Oh,
yes.
Wait. Oh, shit.
So, I thought, maybe he just wanted to, incapacitate him, not actually kill him.
Oh! That's an interesting theory. I kind of like that more than what I read. I kind of like that theory better. Okay. But yeah, going back to what the plan was, because that ties into all this. The demon needed him to kill an innocent man, so he had to, this is the part that, like I said, I read something that said that they swapped souls with the park guy, but the park guy looked dead to me. So what I think happened is that he didn't swap souls. I think this Japanese man, they mentioned the Japanese man probably was a man at some point. I don't think he swapped souls. I think the demon left his body and went into the body of the guy who was dead in the car there. Which that to me works better than if it was they swapped souls. Because if they swapped souls, he would have swapped souls with the Korean guy. The Korean guy then would have been able to speak in perfect Korean. Hey, something crazy is going on here. Don't come and attack me. You know, he would have been able to like try and say something there. If he was a Japanese guy who didn't speak Korean, that would explain why he wouldn't be able to say anything in that moment. So that's what I think happened. Like I said, the thing that I read said they swapped souls. I don't think that's what happened. But I think that because the demon needed him to kill an innocent man, and because the shaman says something earlier on about how he probably was a man at some point, but then he got possessed by this, I think the ritual that the demon did was to have the demon leave his body and then go into the dead body that was in the van to become a zombie, and then he still ended up killing the innocent Japanese guy. That's what I assumed happened there. Until we get to the very end of the film, where the deacon then goes into a cave, finds the Japanese guy totally fine, and then it turns out that he is in fact the devil.
Yeah, like he slowly like reveals his true form in front of the deacon.
Yes. And I guess, in all fairness, I guess that after they killed we've seen that the demon can now possess a zombie dead body. But I guess after this, the zombie body demon decided to go back into the Japanese guy because I figured I guess he could still do that. So I think that's what happened there at the end. He decided to go back into that body because I guess, yeah, if he still has to, it's still a functioning body, I guess. More functioning than the boil-covered, rotting corpse of the other guy. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, when you start throwing in, like, you gotta also now keep track of, like, whose body is in what at what time. It gets real confusing. Yeah, so I think that's what happened. But it's one of those things where, I guess, okay, actually talking this out, I don't have as much of a problem with this as I did before. Because I kept looking at all this just like, I'm reading articles and I'm still like, what the hell is going on here? But actually sitting here and actually discussing it, I'm getting a better idea of like, okay, this seems like that was his plan. However, man, you gotta work your ass off to figure out what's going on in this movie.
I'm like kind of the opposite. It's like, anytime there's a movie that I don't understand, like, I take some time to like connect the dots by myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so this is the conclusion that I came up with. So like you explaining like all this other stuff is like, oh,
I'm making it more confusing for
yes, it's like, okay, maybe I got it wrong, but now I had to think about this, but how does that connect to this? And basically just
it's weird, after I explained all that, my score has gone up to an A-, yours is going down to a C+. Yeah. My apologies. Yeah, you know what? I'm not, in all honesty, now that I think about it like that, it's like, okay, that probably was his plan to put the demon in the zombie body so that way they could then end up killing the innocent man. The demon basically framed the innocent Japanese guy, and then that led into him killing the innocent man, which now made it so that the daughter could be fully possessed. So it's like, okay, this is making more sense to me now that I like talk it all out. But yeah, it's a wild film.
Yeah, and if you still don't know what the movie is about, even after we tried to explain it, maybe you should like watch it for yourself and see what conclusion you come up with.
If you haven't watched it, you probably should not stick around with the spoiler part of these discussions, especially of this one. But I will say, I do think that the end is genius. Because the end, we talk about how we're going back and forth between who to believe on this stuff. The end of this film is like, I have changed alliances 3 times in the last 5 minutes. It is just all over the place. Because like at the end of this, the shaman like sees like, oh shit's like the shaman runs into the woman in white and immediately starts puking up blood all over the place. And the way that I read that was that she is evil. She's the true evil of this. And this shaman guy, you never get the sense that the shaman guy is all in the up and up. But in that moment, I got the feeling that he was like, okay, he's a con man, basically. And now this guy who dabbles a little bit in like the shaman stuff, he's run into an actual spirit and he's like, oh shit, my body is not prepared for this.
Mm-hmm.
So you see him immediately trying to get the hell out of town. And he starts calling up, well, no, he doesn't start calling him up yet. He starts trying to get the hell out of town. And his entire car is just swarmed by like bugs, moths, like locusts. Yeah, like it's a plague. And then he has to get out and he's screaming, but now there's no bugs anymore. And he realizes, oh shit, something won't let me leave. So he starts calling up Jung-gu and telling him the woman in white is evil. Do not listen to the woman in white. And in that moment, when we see like, oh, all like pretense from this guy and all like his grandstanding is gone, and we see him freaking out at all this, I now believe him. I was calling shit on you this entire film. In this moment, I 100% believe you. And that woman in white, she was there with the old Japanese guy right before, like, the zombie guy came around. And then we saw her up there when the Japanese guy died on the highway. Camera then pans up to show her there, just sitting there watching.
Yeah, and when he got the call, he was with the woman in white, and she was like, I can save your daughter, but you must stay here. You cannot go back to her. And then the shaman's guy is like, you have to go back to your daughter. Don't trust this woman. She is a bad ghost. And it's like, once again, who do you believe?
And while this is happening, we also have the deacon finding the old Japanese guy, apparently still alive, in that cave. And he's like, okay, who are you? And the old Japanese guy is like, who do you think I am? He's like, people say you're the devil. And he goes, well, then I guess I'm the devil. Or no, he goes, you're right. I am the devil. I'm like, oh, fuck. And then it cuts to like Jung-gu going like, oh, I don't know who to believe. I don't know who to believe. Then it cuts back to the cave. And the Japanese guy goes, that's what you'd like me to say, isn't it? If people believe I'm the devil, then what does it matter what I say? You've already made your conclusion. Like, okay, I guess you're not that. And it's, I know it sounds like I'm being frustrated. No, this is genius. This is incredible how they do the end of this film.
And I like how the Japanese guy says, well, if you already assume I'm the devil, then I guess you're right. So it's like when you come to a conclusion, that's the conclusion you have to stick with, even though, because you can't believe anything else.
Is it a message of, is this a statement? Because this entire thing is about belief and who do you believe and what do you believe?
Yeah.
And yeah, that moment there, it's kind of like, hey man, if the religious guy tells you all I'm the devil, what does it matter what I say? You're all going to believe him. But then of course it turns out he is the devil. It's so, man, again, I know it sounds like I'm frustrated. I understand the tone of my voice right now, but no, it's genius. How much this film at the end is making you go like, well, maybe it's wait, this, no, that, this, wait, hold on, fuck. This movie, man, that's the thumbnail of the episode right there. Yeah, this is really damn good here at the end. I just kind of feel like, I just wish that by the end, we know for a fact the shaman guy was in cahoots with the devil. The woman in white was the good spirit trying to protect this town. Like at the end, we see Jung-gu like, he can't do it. He has to go back and check on his daughter. And when he runs into the house, you see the little plant that the woman in white put there to try and ward off the demons. The moment he crosses that line, it starts shriveling up. And if you go back to the very beginning of this film, that first house that they go to, there's a shriveled up plant right there. It's like, man, that's good. Full circle, baby. So yeah, well, I'm sorry, I got so caught up in that. I forgot where I was going with that statement. But yeah, at the end of this, you're just watching everything unfold and it's just handled so incredibly well. But my little problem with this is, at the end, we know for a fact, shaman, devil, working together, lady in white, good spirit, trying to protect everybody. We know she's been doing this entire time. We know from that plant that that's exactly what happened at the beginning of this. So she's been trying to protect this entire village and she keeps failing with stuff. I feel like when we have that much of a definitive answer at the end, I should know a little bit more about like, okay, what happened with the guy in the car and the zombie and like what was this scene here? Like why was that lady walking around naked at one point in here? Yeah, I should have a little bit more of an understanding of what happened in here is all. But I do believe now that we've talked about it a little bit more, I do actually have a little bit of a better understanding. And you know what this kind of reminds me of? Reminds me of when we saw Mother for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And I walked out of the theater going, that movie was bullshit. That movie sucked. I mean, I understand at the end it was supposed to be a metaphor about this, but I guess means that part was a metaphor about this, and that was a metaphor about this, which means that this thing was actually that thing. And literally by the time that we got off the subway back home, I was like, that film is genius.
Like, I enjoyed that movie from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But you definitely needed to, like, think about it a
I
bit
came out
more.
of that movie hating it, and literally within like an hour, I was like, this is one of the most brilliant films I've ever seen. This movie's amazing. Yeah, the more that I do think about this, the more I'm like, oh damn, this actually is really good. Man, yeah, I'm it's wild how much just within the span of this conversation, I've started turning around on this film. Don't get me wrong, I gave it a B+. I thought the film was good. Now I'm like, no, this is an A-. I'm bumping this up a little bit. Yeah, okay. The more I talk about this, the more I do understand it, and the more I'm realizing, like, this is really smart. This film is good. And there are still questions I have, but I now am more okay with those questions. I'm now more like, you know what, maybe I don't need to know that part. Yeah. Anywho, anything else you want to add?
I'm too out of it to, like, think about anything, and I think it's because my blood sugar is dropping.
Yeah, we are not, listen, we had to record this now so we could get the review up today, but man, I'm a little bit more awake than I was before, I'll say that, but ooh, man, this was a weird one to do this early in the morning. But alright, everybody, that is it. That was what, day 3 of International Horror Week, so come back for day 4, in which we're going to Argentina for Terrified. Bye, everybody.
Bye.